reductions in coral reefs in third world countries. So the main stimulus material that really resonated with me was the 1989 United Nations speech given by Margaret Thatcher, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Her speech was on the environment and climate change and possible solutions. Through the stimulus packet theme of change, I decided to go further into that research and come up with the research question: to what extent is the destruction of coral reefs and oceans impacting humans in economically developed countries? I wanted to further my research into how the environment has impacted these countries. So this is important to the world because people need to understand the importance of climate change and and how we are impacting the world, especially countries that we don't even know that we are impacting. So how has climate change impacted the reefs? So the main greenhouse gas, CO2, is reacting with H2O in the water, which lowers the pH of the water, making it more acidic. And this acidity is destroying the coral reefs and killing these marine animals. Adele Petter, a marine campaign manager for the Australian Marine Conservation Society, explains how coral bleaching is also a side effect from climate change. Coral bleaching is when the coral reefs have to release the color that is in their tissues because they can no longer withstand it and hold it in because of the heated temperatures. As you can see, she also explains how the Great Barrier Reef has lost over half of the coral coverage in the past 30 years because of coral bleaching, as also seen in the graph. So coral reefs are a major part of our world. 10% of the entire world lives within 100 kilometers of coral reefs. And of that 10%, 75% is a third world country, which means that they rely heavily on those coral reefs for resources. So what are the current issues with reefs today? I will explain how the local people are disagreeing with scientists with what to do about environmental studies. In Micronesia, a case study done by the University of Guam explains the disagreement that is happening between local people and fishermen, as well as scientists. Local people, in their culture, they go fishing for resources and food, as well as they have their coral reefs for tourism, which strengthens their economy. However, scientists believe that these reefs need a break and need to heal from all this overfishing that the fishermen are doing. And they need to stop fishing because they are destroying the ecosystem and the diversity. However, this would take away from the local people's culture that they've been doing for generations, so there is a big disagreement happening between them. So these different problems and disagreements are happening all over the world. A quote that I really liked from Richard Blanco, an American-Cuban poet, from his poem Looking for the Gulf Motel, states, "I want to chase the snowbirds away with their tacky mansions and yachts. I want to turn the golf courses back into mangroves." So this really connected to what I was trying to explain, because these snowbirds are coming in and just destroying his loved home community, and that is what the people are doing. We are polluting and bringing in these greenhouse gases into the world, which is destroying the ocean's coral reefs, and we don't even know, and we barely care enough to actually do something about these issues. So this is a picture taken in Neymar only 2 years ago. As you can see, there's a lot of pollution, and it is impacting the shoreline as well as the oceans, making it so much harder for these fishermen to get their fish and their resources needed for their community. Margaret Thatcher's speech was given over 30 years ago, and it explained possible solutions that the world could take. However, this photo, as I mentioned, was taken 2 years ago. So you can see how we haven't really brought in any actual solution to take care of this environmental issue. However, there are some possible solutions, such as laws and policies, compromising, and bringing awareness to people about climate change. Laws and policies include one of the policies that are already implemented is the United Nations International Marine Environmental Protection Law. However, some countries aren't following this, such as Russia Russia is not really understanding that this law applies to them as well, and is dumping radioactive waste into the ocean, affecting places outside of their own country. So this is happening all over the world, that we are causing these environmental factors, but not even understanding how it's impacting the world. Another possible solution is compromising. The Mapping Ocean Wealth Organization has worked with the people in Micronesia, the local people, and the scientists to come up with a way for them to work together. They've decided that if the scientists can find a way to bait the fish out of the coral reefs, then the fishermen can go to that bait where there are fish houses and everything, where there are fish for them to get their resources, so that they can stay off the coral reefs and not destroy them as much as they have, to allow the coral reefs to get their diversity. Awareness is also a major factor in this. Only 61% of the world is aware of climate change, and only 47% of that believe that it's a threat to our world. If people aren't aware of what they are doing and how it's impacting our environment, they'll be less inclined to help and make sure that we develop a clean way to give a clean world to give our future generations. So this is a main problem that I think if we can have everyone come together and really help each other, then people in first world countries can understand what they're doing is affecting people in third world countries, and then it can help the third world countries who do not have the resources to deal with this by themselves. Finally, to fight climate change, we need to do it together. My solutions were both broad, with having people be more aware of the environmental issues that are happening in third world countries, as well as more specific as what I was talking about in Micronesia. However, the limitations with this is that many countries do not want to give up their own values and cultures to express and allow something like climate change to believe that it's happening. So we need to find a way to have all these countries come together all over the world to fight climate change together, and have the environment be more stable and healthy for everyone who lives in it. Thank you.
Take a breath.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm good. Okay. Oh wait, citations.
Okay.
Well.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All set?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So first question. What information did you need before you began your research, and how did that information shape your research?
So, like I said, I was really inspired by Margaret Thatcher's speech, and I'm also personally very interested in the environment. So I wanted to find a way to go and do this research project on something I was interested in. So I did a lot of background information about specifically the oceans and how the climate change and the environment is being impacted. And so I did research on how the pollution is specifically like plastic, how it's impacting the marine animals like turtles, and also how it's being washed up on shores, and some countries don't know how to deal with that. And that's what brought me to look more into the third world countries and how it was so interesting that they are getting impacted the most from all this waste and pollution, everything that other countries are putting into the world, and they don't have the resources to deal with it. So I wanted to so that was my background research, and then from there I wanted to further and go into more how these specific countries, even with like the coral reefs and how those are being impacted also, how they can all come together and how it's just one big problem that we can have a solution to.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And the second question I have is, what advice would you have for other researchers who consider this topic?
I think one of my main issues with finding a solution was that my solution wouldn't be able to be implemented everywhere in the world, because like I said, people have different cultures and beliefs and values. So my advice to someone who was researching this topic would probably be to go more into what other people believe and how we could find a solution that would fit everyone's ideals and make sure that it's not only a few countries that are trying to like make the world cleaner and better and fight climate change, but it's actually the whole world coming together and knowing that this is a big issue and that this is global and everyone needs to help out.
All right, thanks so much.